Good evening and welcome to Close Up. Last week, the Royal New Zealand Air Force Orient aircraft paid visit to this country. The visitation paid homage to the ties both countries share. On the show tonight, we'll take a closer look at the Orient's visitation and the significance it has for both Fiji and New Zealand's partnerships in the past and into the future. But first, we will take a look at our ex-servicemen who took part in the British nuclear testing on Christmas Island in 1958. Recently, 24 veterans received their compensation payout from the government for the services they provided. This is their story.
3, 2, 1, fire!
1958 was a year that changed the lives of soldiers on service to Christmas Island, especially servicemen from a tiny island such as Fiji. In that year, approximately 70 men were sent to be part of the British nuclear testing on Christmas Island. Retired 80-year-old Bannerman Navy serviceman Tikoti Rotan was one of the brave men.
The announcement came that they need people to go to Christmas Island. We didn't know, we just thought that part of we were to help the British people establish the island for their base. But we didn't know that, there is more trouble there with this nuclear testing.
For these courageous soldiers, the non-disclosure of truth is now a distant yet painful memory.
Well, they said that this is a dangerous bomb. It will be dropped from the air. There are times when they hang it in the balloon and they blow it up there. There are times when they just drop it and to a certain height it will explode by itself. So the one I witnessed was just a direct drop. They drop it from the plane and explode at the height they measured from the ground. So they told us, don't look, we're all on the beach sitting there, because there was also standing by. If something happened, if the bomb dropped into the water, it will create a big wave. And Christmas Island is very low island. So we were told what to do. I was assigned to go to the main camp to evacuate people from there.
These brave men got to see the first-hand and experience the sheer power of the world's first thermonuclear discharge.
We young men then, we were excited. We were excited, but then at the back of our mind we know that it's a big danger. Something, if they think, they miscalculate and the thing dropped in the water, big trouble, because they warned us. And so then we realized that this is not another joy trip. So one thing that I noticed there, we looked away, we turned our back to the blast. That blast with this lightning, that lightning went, that's when you can see the bones in your hand, and it just went through your body. If that thing lasted for a minute or maybe 10 seconds, you would die. The pain is so great, but because it was so fast, it just went through and you came with a shock, then it's gone.
To this day, the explosions on Christmas Island still having a devastating effect on the health of these veterans.
Some of these men are with us today, and we honor them for their service to our nation. We salute them for their courage and persistence over many years to get justice for themselves and their comrades who are no longer with us, those who have passed into history without seeing justice done. Had they still been alive today, I'm sure they would rejoice as much as these men that our nation has finally seen fit to recognize their sacrifice.
A week ago, the 24 surviving veterans who were on the island 60 years ago finally receiving a sense of solace from the state totaling over $256,000.
Our own men were never measured for radiation at the time, but a pilot who flew through one of the mushroom clouds soon afterwards received a dose of radiation equivalent to more than 12,700 times X-ray. Our men were wearing t-shirts and shorts. Of course, they were not only the only people that were affected. Thousands of British, Australian, and New Zealand servicemen, scientists, and construction workers were also exposed. To this day, Britain has refused to pay compensation to anyone, despite successive surveys that have shown veterans suffering from a range of terrible ailments, leukemia and other blood disorders, skin complaints, and other conditions. And worse, these effects appear to have passed on to some of the children who were born with congenital deformities and a range of diseases. At last, after years of rejecting any claims for compensation, because Britain says too much time has passed since these events, the current British Prime Minister, David Cameron, has finally acknowledged this moral challenge and says the issue will be revisited.
Someone has told me at the House of Commons on my trip to UK that the light is at the end of the tunnel. I didn't quite believe it, but now I'm simply beginning to understand what he meant.
We are very grateful and thankful to our government for doing that. And as the Prime Minister said, he's trying to correct the wrong that has been going on for a long time. 6 years, 60 years running. We've been complaining. The people who suffer the most are the wives of the deceased veterans. These people die young, they're gone. They left their family behind. And these wives that have to look after their children, keep them at home, feed them, and then put them to school. They're the very one who suffered. So I'm glad that this government also include them in the payment. Because they are the very one who suffered the most. We're right, we survived, but we survived roughly.
They each received a check of $9,855 from the Fijian government.
The British been saying, oh, the bomb was safe. There's nothing wrong with it. They said, but we can't believe them. If it's safe, why not blow it beside their own shores there? Their own airspace there. Why not do that? But they bring it all the way here. The British, the French, the Americans, they never tested near their shores, but they bring it to the Pacific. We hope that they will realize their mistake. And as the Prime Minister said, his government is doing something, hoping that the British will follow suit. But we don't know whether they will do it or not. I don't know, I will survive when the British decided to give us something or not. But that's their problem.
Too much time has passed. The ranks of the survivors are rapidly thinning. Too many men, our fellow Fijians, have gone to their graves without justice. Those who remain deserve justice, and Fiji as a nation is determined for them to finally get it. We need to erase this blight on our history.
This is the New Zealand Air Force P3K2 Orion aircraft. For the visiting Orion aircraft, its presence shows the mended bridges between Fiji and New Zealand. After a lapse of 9 years, New Zealand and Fiji are strengthening their diplomatic ties.
This is an opportunity to re-establish our relationships with your country and your Defence Force. And of course, secondly, we've got the 50th commemoration of the withdrawal of the 5 Squadron out of Lathala Bay here, and I think it's really appropriate that we have here today an aircraft from number 5 Squadron, that squadron that was here and operating for many years from the war through to 1965. It is very important for us. We see Fiji as critical in the Pacific, and I think more particularly it's that relationship. I mean, first time I came to Fiji with the Air Force, 1982, and I flew out of Nandi particularly for 20 odd years, and the relationships that I personally established with the Fijian military is very important, and and it's a friendship between us, and it's that friendship that I'm looking forward to re-establishing.
The aircraft is here to mark the 50th anniversary of the withdrawal of the RNZAF No. 5 Squadron from Lodala Bay, especially for soldiers who also were part of the squadron.
Looking back on the Royal New Zealand Air Force, who used to serve in Fiji during those days, probably we've heard previously that the Army, the Fiji military forces, used to be responsible for the securities of the Lodala campus, which is the Royal New Zealand Air Force base at the time. Those days, this Sunderland, or the seaplane RAF, they used to fly from Fiji'S in New Zealand, North Island of New Zealand, and they're based here in Lodala in the squadron. And you can see if you can see now, it still exists there, the safety barriers, out to the sea, the big rocks which they have laid down to come down the waves as the planes used to anchor there in that particular place.
In those days, RFMF used to take part in the security of the camp. We go and stay there in the camp. There's two camps there. One is called the top camp, where the university proper is now. And another one is called the bottom camp. That is where the School of Maritime is, all those areas, where the hangar, and including the Rambuka Hall where it is now. Those places there is what we call the bottom camp. In the top camp we have a place to sleep and come and look at our duty at the main gate. I still see the main gate still there now. And there's one building that's still there. That's where we come and perform our duty, just because of the security of the people. The Air Force, Royal New Zealand Air Force people, their families, they have houses there. I think some of them wooden houses still there.
Our military officers play the sole purpose of security.
To come and stay in the main gate, looking after going out of people, coming in again, and also to what you call at that time, picket. Sometimes we go around, walk around a little perimeter. Now where I used to be now is quite bigger now. And those people who are doing their job is to picket are the New Zealand Air Force people, Probo, we call them. Their job is to picket around, but our job mainly is to look after that main gate. People going in and people going out.
For these soldiers, the fond memories are what remains of the squadron.
I remember a gentleman called Squadron Leader Black. He was a commandant or the top chief of the Air Force then. I still remember. There's another Provo we used to work together. I just can't get out his name now. When our guard commander, the corporal, is to remind us, if Squadron Leader Black is away, because he's going to come back into the camp, he used to warn us very strictly to be very careful of our duty, so that when he comes, this normal respect, salute, and respect for, because he's a big boss, he's a commander of the Air Force in Fiji at that time.
The New Zealand-based squadron played an important role in our history.
I still remember during those days, I remember there was about 3 or 4, I remember. Then they start phasing out slowly in 1965, if I remember correctly. Then, the last lot leave very late when the base is closed down. And we all returned back to Fiji'S in New Zealand. During those days, we used to we were very close friends with the Royal New Zealand Air Force. They used to have a team there which is called the Flying Cats, and it was one of the well-known, very strong team to beat in Super during those days. A very popular team, and that Flying Cats was meant for the aeroplane. And yes, we had a very good relationship with the Air Force, and we really missed them when they left when they go back to Fiji'S in North New Zealand. And even in the later years, I toured with the Combined Services rugby team of Fiji. We toured New Zealand. That was in 1968, I think, if I remember correctly. Some of our friends, Royal Air Force, were already at Fiji'S back in New Zealand, and we just liked you know, the old friends. We just met and we say hello, Bulak Naka, and yes, it was very good memories, you know, the time that we've shared with them. Yes, they have contributed a lot for Fiji. I think we cannot rule that out, because I think they've contributed to very much to the security of nations.
This is the start of that re-engagement, having those opportunities to have a talk with your military, have a talk to your Navy, and so therefore we can start to plan our future operations together. So the next time we are here, which I hope is in the very, very near future, we will be here for a lot longer, perhaps 3 days.
The Orion's visitation also coincided with the New Zealand government's assistance towards our exclusive economic zone. This is where the problem of illegal, unreported and unregulated or IUU fishing has become an area of concern.
IUU in the Pacific is very hard to quantify. There's no exact figures, or there've been attempts to try to quantify it. But conservative estimates have been put down, saying that 1 in every 5 fish caught is done so through an illegal means, or through illegal means, or been sourced unsustainably or through IUU. And that basically means that 20% of fish being landed, in our ports, etc., done so illegally. So the onus is on governments throughout the region to try to clamp down on that. The Fiji offshore sector lands close to 12,000 tons of fish annually. And that's been the trend over the last few years. And in terms of value of export from this particular industry, I believe that 10,000 tons of product, including loins, are exported to the US market, and this amounts to about $53 million annually. The exact value of the entire industry, including the supply chains, all the transport sector that offloads the fish and transports it to the planes, those that are handling the fish, that's very hard to quantify, but I believe it's in the vicinity of about 200 to 300 million annually in terms of all the jobs that are created and the multiplier effect from the industry. And in terms of if we were to just focus on the value of the fish alone and that $53 million figure, and then looking back at the cost of IUU to the region, and if estimates are correct in that 20% of fishing activity is indeed illegal, then we'd be looking at around $11 million to $12 million from landed figures alone, in terms of the value of illegal fisheries and its cost to Fiji.
Fijian naval officers joined their New Zealand counterparts in the maritime surveillance of Fiji's EEZ to inspect illegal fishing vessels. It was a chance for officers to witness the use of technology in combating IUU.
So today's flight is probably, I would say, a starter of that re-engagement with the Maritime Patrol. We've just had 1 hour at the Maritime Surveillance Centre discussing the operations, having a look at the fishing plot in your exclusive economic zone. And so today's flight is only going to be about 2.5 hours. That's a lot shorter than what we would normally do, because today was, I will say, the introductory flight and an opportunity just to demonstrate our capability and our desire to support the Fijian forces government, in this case, in the EEZ.
After conducting a maritime surveillance of our EEZ, the New Zealand Air Force says it now has a fair idea how to assist the Fiji Navy in the high seas.
We're going to fly some 250 nautical miles out to the west of here. We're going to rendezvous with one of the Fijian patrol vessels, and then we will investigate a large part of your exclusive economic zone and pick up any fishing vessels in that area.
Annually, an average of over 2 million tons of tuna is fished out of the Pacific Ocean. This is caught legally with consent from the authorities as well as illegally by foreign vessels. WW Pacific is urging the adoption of new technology.
2013 we went into partnership with a local stakeholder, Sequest Fiji Limited, where we installed 6 automated information systems, AIS systems on board 6 of their boats, and this was all to do with providing or improving the transparency of these boats. Yeah? So it allowed us to track these vessels, to see what they were doing while they were out there, to ensure that they were in the places that they were supposed to have been. And it allows fisheries managers the opportunity to, look at this data and provide advice and management on the activities of these particular boats. Yeah?
Such gadgets, WWF Pacific says, complements existing surveillance in place.
The sheer size of the Pacific Ocean, makes it logistically and quite expensive to conduct surveillance activities. Looking at Fiji, for example, Fiji covers, or Fiji's exclusive economic zone covers an area of 1.2 million square kilometers. Yeah? And putting that into perspective, Fiji's land area only covers an area of 18,000 square kilometers. Yeah? So one can say that most of Fiji's territory lies offshore. And having said that, conventional means of providing surveillance includes things like patrol boats and having people on board these boats. These people are observers, they're there to watch what type of fishing is taking place. They're there to record the type of fishing activities taking place on these boats.
However, conventional challenges need addressing.
There's a lot of challenges. I think the challenges with going back to things like just the size of the exclusive economic zones and territories are your basic challenges that affect all the governments within the region, not only Fiji. And I think the important take-home note there is that it's important to embrace new technologies. Tuna is a shared resource. It's a resource that is owned by no single country within the Pacific region. And so, where it's actually taken from illegally, or if illegal activities have taken place, and where those illegal activities have taken place is almost irrelevant, simply because it affects every single Pacific Island country and not one Pacific country individually. Yeah?
The only hope now is a holistic and cohorted effort.
There needs to be partnerships. Needs to be partnerships with other countries in the region. And I understand that there's a lot of initiatives underway by Pacific Island countries under the Foreign Fisheries umbrella to ensure that these partnerships are formed and that the activities within these partnerships as it relates to surveillance are implemented.
And that's all we have for you for Close Up this evening. If you have any queries or questions, please feel free to email us at closeup@fijitv.com.fj, or you could check out our Facebook page, Close Up. So until next Sunday, have a great week and good evening.